Hey guys, this is Lawrence of the Ketones and Coffee Podcast. Make sure to subscribe down below so you don't miss out on any of this great content. Hey guys, this is Lawrence. Welcome back to the Ketones and Coffee Podcast, and thank you so much for tuning in. I know everyone here that's listening are here because you want to create a sustainable, healthy lifestyle through the ketogenic diet, and every single week I try to bring in guests that not only has the knowledge, but these individuals has also been through the same trials that we all have been through when it comes down to our search for a better health. We get together in hopes to assist you on your own journey. So excited for this, guys. Our guest today is a ketogenic lifestyle and fitness influencer. She is the co-host of the Fat Fueled Family podcast and one of the creators of the Fat Fueled Family YouTube channel and blog, dedicated to leading a movement that will empower families to eat better, move more, and grow closer. Her Instagram has amassed a following of more than 40,000 followers, where she shares free interactive workouts, gym hacks, and everything keto. With her mission to help women take control of their health, she and along with her husband, with their 2 boys, are all part of the movement to spread their love for keto to their families who have the same goals by making it fun and easy for the family. I'm so excited for this. I'm here with Maura Vega. Maura, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. Well, good morning, everybody.
Good morning. I'm so excited to have you on because love the movement with the whole family. With Danny, you and the boys are doing such a great job. Just being a great ambassador for the lifestyle. Yeah, I really love to have you on because my wife and I are on keto just over a year now, and likely
Wonderful.
for the foreseeable future. So I'm sure many families want to do the same, just really confused like what to feed their
Yeah.
kids and all that. So I'm so glad to have you
Mm,
on. Yeah. Um,
absolutely. Yeah. Especially with the children, like that's a huge part of our mission because I think it's a little easier for us as
mhm.
adults to realize we have to change. But, with our kiddos, it's like for some reason there's a disconnect, even within the community, right? So,
Oh yeah, no, for sure. Like for me, for example, I feel good, but I'm really not sure what to feed my kids. So I'd love to learn a thing or two about running a keto family. We'll get to that. We'll get to that later
awesome.
on. And right now we are in the middle of transitioning our 2-year-old daughter to keto. So there's no better people to ask about that than you guys. Absolutely.
Awesome.
Yeah, before we get into that, I'd like to learn about your story a little bit, leading to your whole family, changing your lifestyle. And, let's start with your background just briefly. I understand that you had dabbled with different diets in the past, and you can get into the goals and the results on these other diets. And then through that whole process, which was a journey in itself, decided to switch to keto in 2016. So everything that led to that switch, what was your relationship with food before that?
Ooh, well, I'm gonna try to give you guys the cliff notes because this has seriously the food thing has been such an ongoing battle for me
Mm.
personally my entire life. Like I was not that person, even as a just in my late adolescence, I reached puberty pretty early on, earlier than most girls, and I could never just eat whatever I wanted. That was never me. So I, as long as I could remember, was trying to diet or lose weight, or I was always conscious of that, honestly, as far as I can remember. I was also a dancer and I did ballet. So that's another thing that keeps you very, there's a really big focus on how you look. And, a lot of the times, they just, there's no, they don't really care, to be honest. Like, there's a certain thing that they're looking for. And when you're in that, and especially if you're competitive, it is what it is. There's so much competition that the way you look could be something that you're cut for, right? So there was a lot of focus around that just in general. So I would say I did not have a healthy relationship with food for a very, very long time. It was quite a journey. So, when I grew up, it was the 90s. So that was when, fat is bad, diet
Mm.
everything, right? And that's just what I thought. That's what my mom thought. So, we all were just doing the best we could according to what we were told. So I was eating healthy is what I thought, right? But
Mm.
I could never manage my weight. So I did find myself by high school, I was the master of restriction. Like that was that. Like cuz
Mm.
I could not ever eat to satiety and not gain weight. So I just thought that that was like my life sentence. I was like, okay, whatever. I had all these tricks on, drinking coffee, whatever it was. I picked up some very unhealthy habits along the way. At one point, smoking cigarettes, anything that would make me, curb my hunger so that I could restrict and manage my weight. So yeah, I definitely battled body dysmorphia, and that's something that's like a lifelong journey. We still battle it. It's just like I'm like more conscious these days, and I'm like, that's not the truth, but a lot of body dysmorphia, a lot of restriction, a lot of eating disorders. I would mainly just binge restrict. I never. Well, it's funny because like the term bulimia, a lot of people associate it with just throwing up and purging, but that's not really all it entails. Like you can be bulimic if you try it's a bulimic behavior if you try to undo something that you did, right? So like, let's say I did have a binge, maybe the next day I would fast or over exercise. That's still a bulimic tendency. So I just wanted to throw that out there because a lot of times people think, oh no, I'm not bulimic, I don't purge my food. But did you try to undo something? It's still an unhealthy behavior, right? So anyways, I think by the time I reached college, just like any good college, typical college student, you go vegan, right? Like that's what you do when you are in college. And that's also what was hot. That's what we thought was, that's what was told to us by the culture, doctors, like everybody was saying, meat gives you cancer. You're going to you're going to have a heart attack. You should go vegan. And oh my goodness, I look back now at the things I would eat and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's so bad, right? Like the fake chicken burgers and veggie burgers and tofu and soy milk. And all that stuff, and really just restricting. So I was able to manage my weight, but simply because I would restrict myself. That is that. And I would exercise to a point, So once I graduated high school and I wasn't dancing, all these hours a day anymore, I did put on a little bit of weight. And again, that's when I went vegan, not totally vegan. I would always eat a little bit of fish here and there and some eggs. So I don't know what they call that, but I was never able to go fully vegan. I feel like I wouldn't have survived. I'm not a good vegan. But anyways, fast forward, I really found myself just like I had no energy, mood issues, just depression. I wouldn't like heal. Like if I just nicked myself, if I like injured myself, if I got like a little cut or something, I would realize that it wouldn't heal that, as quickly as it should. It would like just linger there for a few weeks. So I knew something was wrong, I knew something was up. So at that point, I was probably already in my early 20s. And by the way, I'll just throw this in there, but between the time I was like, left probably like 20 to 23, I was battling, alcohol and drug addiction during that time. So during that time, I wouldn't say that I really cared that much about what I was eating because I was just, out there drinking and partying and all that stuff. And so I got sober. When I was 23, I got sober and, I started to really just focus again on working out. And I've always wanted to be healthy. I always had an interest in that. And that's when me and Danny, Danny and I had been friends prior to that, but that's when we got together. And then when we had our first child pretty quickly after that. And that's when Desmond was born. And that's when everything kind of changed for us because Danny started to do CrossFit. And then that's when like the whole paleo boom was happening. And we were so happy. Like that was such a blessing to us. So keto, we came to keto afterwards, but paleo was like our first baby. That's when we were reading all these books, Mark Sisson, Weston A. Price Foundation. And we were like, oh my gosh, they lied to us. Like we've been lied to. This makes so much more sense. Like, and we realized, okay, fat is not the enemy. And, just really, really the scales being removed from our eyes. And that really just opened it up for us. And then, so after I had my second child, Dean, that was about in like 2014. So about 3 years after I had Desmond, that's when Instagram and If It Fits Your Macros, that was gaining a whole popularity back then. Right. And so I'm so glad though that I had that base of paleo because it's like I could never unlearn that. And so I knew something was off, but I
Mm-hmm.
still tried it anyways because whatever it was, Danny was powerlifting at the time, and the culture was a little bit different than CrossFit. Powerlifters just they eat a
Yeah.
lot; they don't really care that much. So it's all about bulking and stuff. And I was like, I'm not gonna make 2 meals. So I did the if it fits your macros thing, and yeah, I lost weight, but I was miserable. I was
Mm.
miserable because I was eating low fat,
Yeah.
and you're doing all those little meals that you're never really satiated. You're just always obsessing about food, binging on the weekends. And at that time, I was also battling postpartum depression. So I got really bad postpartum depression after my little one, and they put me on Zoloft, which did not really help me in any way. It kind of just it didn't really make me happy. It
Mm-hmm.
kind of just made me like not
Mm-hmm.
care. So I knew that I never, and it comes with a whole bunch of side effects. So I was like, I want to get off these pills eventually. So, um, probably like about 2 years into that. So yeah, when Dean was like two, Danny had been working out with a friend who was like, you got to do keto. You got to look at this keto thing. And because I had that knowledge of paleo and I remember how I felt, I was like, man, I used to be able to fast and not obsess about food. I used to feel just so much better just eating, higher fat, lower carb. So I always knew that in the back of my mind. So honestly, when he said keto, I was all about it. I was like, let's go. I was like, I knew that was the only way that I was going to probably be able to get off those antidepressants. And please, when I say that, just, for anybody listening, always do it with a doctor,
Mm-hmm.
with their help, because I didn't, and it was pretty scary. Like I did not wean myself probably the right way, and you're messing with your brain
Mm-hmm.
chemistry, and it could be really scary. So please, if you are on antidepressants and you're wanting to get off or something, just please do it with a doctor's help, because it can get turned scary. But anyways, we never really looked back, and so keto, we started at that point and we've never looked back. I felt incredible again. Within weeks I was feeling good.
Mm.
Like my just like my brain fog was lifting. I felt more satiated, not obsessing about food. I felt like I was back, and then that kind of evolved into like more of a carnivore way of eating where we are now.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just been incredible. Like our family does it. We've Danny's father has lost like 80 pounds at this point. It's been a blessing. So
Wow, you know
that
what?
was my Cliff's Notes.
I love it.
It's a long
No, I
story.
love it. There's a lot there because, as I was listening to you, you were, even though you were following the diet trend at that time, you stayed open to trying new things and
Yes.
looking into, like, because I sit back here, listen to you. You are aware of what you feel when you eat a certain food, or because some people are not open to anything
No.
else, right? But you you
Yeah.
you were very inclined to trying new things, which is so. It may be, common to our community, but outside the community, you find lots of people are not open to it, right? If it's not
Yeah.
recommended by
Yeah.
their doctor, then it's not something that they're open to doing. And so I
Mm.
just love that you and Danny are doing this for other families, because um, a lot of families are confused, right? I am confused. Like, I'm keto
Yeah.
and I'm living it. I've been living it for a year and almost 2 years now, and my wife and I are confused of what to feed our kids.
Mm.
We have
It's a
a
good
we
one.
have a 2-year-old daughter that we actually just quit our jobs a week ago to go full time on our business, and now we thought that we have time for our kids, time for our business, but um, it's just hard to find time to cook or find time to
Yes.
um, get snacks for our daughter. And so I really commend you both, but I, again, like I said, I want to dig in deeper on how you were able to do this. You have your own business. You always you stay on track with your macros, your fitness, whilst um, helping your kids, the two boys, stay on track. So for our listeners that are maybe wanting to transition their kids as well into the ketogenic diet and just confused. How were you able to do it in the beginning? You and Danny, how were you able to transition the two boys? And how old were they at the time?
Okay, so I actually have two different experiences. So like I said, when my first one was born, we were in the paleo craze. And like I was that mom because I was home with him. I was able to breastfeed and I was able to stay home with him. I was very, a little bit neurotic at the time too. Like I was like, no, my baby, like I would make all his food. So he was my paleo baby. Like I don't even think he had a French fry. I have so many stories that we laugh at now because truly those first few years, especially if you're with them, they really only know what you teach them. That's it. They don't know anything else. And I remember, back like his like the first time he ever went like trick-or-treating, my son, he thought it was a game. He thought it was a game. He didn't know what to do with like the candy because I had never given him candy. And he thought it was like a fun game. And I remember him playing like air drums with lollipops because he didn't know what they were. Of course, you're never going to be able to, they're in the world, right? So I never want to shelter them. Our job is to teach them how to be in the world and how to be able to say no and to have, what is our, our family, like what's important to our family. So I think the most important thing is to come up with that as a family, like what's important to us. And I think the main thing, and I'll talk a little bit now about the actual like details and transitioning, because I know that parents need ideas and sometimes it's like, I don't even know what I know. And like, I take like almost like, I don't know, like people, I don't realize that people don't know. So I will get into that, but I wanted to say this. We cannot control our children and we don't want to control them. Like, so we never want to take that approach where we are like, no, and like controlling them because they are going to leave our home at some point. And, for all I know, they can go straight for I always say it, they could go straight for the hot and ready at Krispy Kreme, right? And they might, and I'll talk a little bit about some experiences, but here's the bottom line. I think the bottom line, what I want for my boys is no matter what happens, no matter when they leave, if they do go off track, if they ever get sick or they ever start having symptoms of any sort, I don't want their first reaction to be, I need to go to a doctor and I need to get a pill. That's not like, I want for them to say, what can I look at in my diet or in my lifestyle that could possibly be contributing to this issue. So I want them to be root cause focused. Not that they're not going to eat stuff, right? Like it's out there, right? It's out there. They're going to eat stuff, but I want them to be in tune. Like it's not something out of my control. It's not hereditary. It's not this like, I can't do anything about it. No, it's a root cause. What can I change? Right. So with that said, Desmond was, my paleo baby. He's such a great eater till this day. Like, I'm like when I tell you like his first food was like liver and like egg yolks or something like that. It was insane nutrition, and it's really stuck with him. Right, my little one at the time, we've always been like health oriented, so we never went like fully, like just like wow, like all this kid crap because I couldn't like I knew what I knew. So, but we still they were eating a little bit worse off like when we first started keto. And, like we would always start their day good. Like they knew, like, I don't do the cereal. Like, so that's one thing that was always like a non-negotiable for me. I'm like, you guys have to start your day good. That's because it just sets the tone for the whole day. I'm like, you have to start your day with eggs, protein, something of the sort. We can't start our days with, a carb festival because you're going to it really sets the tone for the whole day, and we have a few rules, like a few, I don't want to call them rules, but like principles, right? Like carbs are to be earned, right? So that's one of the things. Because to be honest, unless your child really has like something like maybe autism or epilepsy, something where you really have no choice but to have them like really strict keto because their health and their life and their quality of life depends on it. Children are more metabolically flexible than we are. And they can eat, a baby, you could feed it carbs and you cannot kick them out of ketosis. It's almost impossible because that's how babies, they're so insulin sensitive. So for us, it's all about like teaching them like what are, a better source, what's processed food, what's real food. So that's our whole thing. Like we eat real food,
Mm.
So sure, do they have a little bit of carbs time to time? Yeah, but they're going to have like a banana, a fruit.
Mm.
And we have like our principles, right? Like they know how to make a plate of food. Like, what are you going to serve for your protein? They know that they have to eat their protein first. And they do a lot of the times they know that, and so their hunger signals are so good now that it's like they do eat their protein first. Like when they're hungry, they want meat, because when you're really hungry, that you really do crave
Mm.
protein and fat, so that's some of the things. Now when we did transition them, you got to get a little bit creative at the time. We're lucky now, like I said, back in 2011, 2012, when I was doing paleo, I had to make everything. Now there's
Mm.
so many
So many
brands
things. Yeah.
out there, so many options where we don't have to hand make everything from scratch anymore, right? Like I've got cauliflower thins that I
Mm.
can use. I've got Simple Mills almond flour crackers that are made for me. I used to literally make crackers as such a pain in the butt, right? So it's like now we have a lot of different options where we have brands like Birch Benders, Paleo Pancakes, things like that, where we can say, hey, you can still enjoy yourself. There's just a better option. So we would make them keto or paleo pancakes, or
Mm.
cauliflower thins instead of the bun for a burger, which they're super used to eating their burgers without buns at this point, so they always eat burgers without buns. Instead of like regular French fries, I'll make them sweet potato
Mm.
fries that I air fryer. We cook them in a better oil, you know what I mean, that's not vegetable oils and things like that. So I think just showing them like, no, you can still eat well and enjoy yourself. Like we're not losing the fun. And then at the same time, we have to allow them that space
Mm.
to make those food mistakes without the shame attached, without any of that, because it's such a good learning experience. And I have so many stories where they end up like, because when they eat well, most of the time they have good signals and they're gonna feel bad. They will
Mm.
feel bad when they eat stuff.
Yeah.
So we've gone to birthday parties where my son has immediately like had like a slice of pizza, a really fruity, like nasty, like,
Mm.
I call it like the red drinks,
Mm.
and then like cotton candy. Immediately in like 10 minutes, he was bent over crying. My God, my stomach.
Mm.
And we're not gonna say, I told you, da-da-da-da.
Yeah.
No, I'm just like, what do you think it is, buddy? And it's the food. I'm like, oh, okay, well, that's okay. Just next time maybe pace yourself.
Mm.
What do you think you can do next time so you don't feel this way? Because now you're not enjoying the
Mm.
party,
I
right? Like
love that.
now he's not enjoying himself. So
Mm.
using those times as a learning experience, as a learning opportunity. And we never want to make them feel bad, because eventually if we do that, they will try to
Mm.
hide stuff from
Yeah.
us, so,
Wow.
and we don't want that shame to be attached. So yeah.
Wow. You.
Does that answer your
Oh
question?
yeah. No, for sure. I love that you said that when they're feeling something that um isn't isn't right. You said that you didn't want them to go to the doctor and get prescribed medication, and
Mm-hmm.
you want them to question what they ate that's causing them to
Mm-hmm.
I love that. And then you said give them space and give them the freedom to make their own choices and make their own mistakes. I think it's also key there too, because you you said like they may start hiding stuff from you guys, and obviously that's never something that we want our kids to do. And
Right.
so yeah, just love that you're teaching your kids about nutrition and what are the foods that actually make you feel good. I think I love this for our listeners because obviously if you're living a keto lifestyle and you're feeling good on this lifestyle, you want this for your kids too. And having most of the people in the keto space, I'm not saying everybody, has experienced their health failing them. That's why they're here, right? So
Yeah.
obviously you don't want this. You don't want that for your kids, and transitioning your kids into a keto lifestyle, if you're already living that lifestyle, makes sense for everybody. And so I
Yes.
love that you're setting such a great example, your family. I love that you're sharing your lifestyle with your kids, and you have your kids Instagram at Fat Fueled Kids, that you show
Yes.
what they're eating. And so I'm gonna start following that for my daughter. But man, I just love that you started sharing that. What were the routines that help you both stay on track and keep the kids routine, uh and lifestyle on track as well, because I see you running your own business, your own socials. You have another new thing coming up. I'll give you the floor to talk about that in a second, and your brand. And what are your family routines that helps you keep on track of everybody's macros? If you can just give us a few tips on how to do that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. So I want to just say one more thing that I forgot to mention. So, because I have like some little notes here, so I don't get off, so I can ramble. But another thing I want to mention is, and this is so hard because as parents, we're so naturally inclined to do stuff like this because they did it with us. But try not to reward with food. Like, because when we do that, we're attaching like celebrate, like, even if it's a celebration, like when we reward with like a bad, like, not, I don't want to call foods bad, but like with something that's not healthy, like it's just, that's not a reward. You know what I mean? So like, I know that, like, or even worse, comfort, right? So maybe your child is sad. We don't go for ice cream when we're sad, because that's just really building that, like they're going to carry that with them. They really are. And it's just not a healthy habit. Anyway, so that's number one. Yeah. So that's number one. Number two, here's a tip. So here's a tip on how to like help your kids really start to make good decisions. And we did this. We've always done this. You might have to increase the amounts because of inflation, but here's the deal, right? Like, why do we buy special food for our children, right? Like other countries, honestly, they make fun of the US because of that. Like, why do we like kids menus? We have like a whole campaign against kids menus. Like, why we shouldn't wait. These are habits that they need to learn now. Like, don't wait until your child is 18 and now all of a sudden they have to figure it all out. No, these habits are taught at home. So, we have a budget, our money. What I tell my children is I do not support companies with my money that I deem to be immoral because they're selling children food that is really, really bad for them. So my budget, when I do the groceries, like I don't buy that, now I would give them each like a little allowance every time we would go to the grocery store, and you can decide that with your own family and depending on the ages of the children. I would also like take them to a place where you can't really make that bad of a choice, so like maybe a fresh market, something like that, Sprouts. And this is their money. Like, here you go, here's $5, $10, you can pick whatever you want with that money. And believe it or not, like the fact that they're in charge now, like they want to make a good choice, yeah, sometimes they'll choose whatever, a chocolate bar, a yogurt. You'd be surprised sometimes how good of a choice they make. But it's a really good way to start teaching them like how to, because now it's on them, right? So that's number one. And then, you're talking about routines. You really just got to find something like easy. So I'll give you I'll just give you examples, but like we eat a lot of the same things every day. Don't think you have to be getting fancy. I know sometimes we see like all these fancy recipes on Instagram. Like, no, that's not the reality. So pretty much every morning it's eggs. Like, how do you want your eggs today? That's like the question. How would you like your eggs today? Yes, there are days that they get sick of it. And you know what? Maybe but they're still going to eat some other protein. You have some chicken from last night. Would you like that instead? Sure. Or you have a burger. Like, burgers are breakfast, guys. Like, so we'll do a burger, but like some type of protein for breakfast. And honestly, if they're not hungry, I don't make them eat. I just, depending on what our routine is for the day, like if we're going to leave, maybe you do want to eat something because we're going to be gone for a while, but if you're just going to be home for the next few hours, they might not be hungry. So I don't force it either. I let them listen to their hunger signals. And then lunches are always the hardest for me specifically. Dinner's dinner, but for some reason, lunches is always the hardest, right? Like, I'm going to get off this podcast and then it's like, that's it. I'm like, let's go. We got to do lunch. Like, so I just found things that are really easy for us. And again, they have so many good brands now. So like, I find this good brand of like either gluten-free chicken nuggets, which they don't even really do those a lot. I really like these frozen, they're grass-fed burger patties that just come frozen, and they're really thin at Costco. And you throw those on the cast iron, 3 minutes on each side, and they're done. So like we'll do burgers, and then I'll let them choose a side where I could just throw some sweet potato fries in the air fryer or something like that. So lunches are, maybe I'll do like a little sandwich one time with like cauliflower thins. So you really I feel like for the lunch, planning is everything, right? If we don't plan, I find myself going a little bit more crazy during the week. So what I try to do with Danny is sit down on Sunday and at least plan the lunches, because I know because of my schedule that is the hardest meal for me. Sometimes it could be breakfast is the hardest meal for you. A lot of people, if their children go to school, for them it's breakfast. Like they got to get out, right? So maybe do a little bit of pre-planning. Maybe make some like pre-made little egg muffins that you can do. Something that you can pull quick, heat it up quick. So it does take a little bit of extra planning because it is more convenient, and that is a fact. And that is how they sell us. That is how they get us, is by convenience. It is what it is, right?
Mm.
That's why we go through the drive-through. It's pure convenience.
Yep.
So it does take a little bit of extra effort.
Mm.
It does, but it's so worth it. And you're
It
teaching your
is.
children too that it's worth making a little bit of the effort. And you know what? You may have to sit down for half an hour on a Sunday, on the weekend, and just jot it down and get them involved too. You know, when they feel involved, they're more likely to eat the food as well. So like they get to choose a meal. Like, okay, what does Dean pick for dinner this week? What dinner do you want to do? You know, he'll say like, oh, you know, peas and corn, because that's what he likes. Peas and corn and whatever steak. Okay, cool. And what does Desmond want to have for dinner this night? So that's what we'll do, you know? Um, but yeah, it does. It takes a little bit of extra planning. It does. And, you know, maybe a little bit of prep. If you're really busy, you're going to have to prep out some stuff, but it's worth it. It's worth it. It really is.
I want to point out something that you said. I think it's really important here to reiterate. You talked about not rewarding with food, because I think that's really important, because that can be the start of a bad food relationship, first of all,
Yes.
and associating food with happiness. Whenever you're sad, you
Mm.
eat. You know, we've heard this story many times, and it's really hard. It's really a bad cycle to get into, and it's really hard to break as well.
It is.
I love that. And also when you said, you know, giving your kids freedom, giving them a budget on, and then see what they actually buy, right? And then it's actually just teaching them to be in control with their own money and make decide for themselves. I love that. And the biggest thing for me is not don't get into then don't get too fancy with your food, and don't
Yeah.
get into the Instagram trap where you see all of these
No.
recipes. Obviously that cannot be sustainable.
It's not sustainable. I think my boys ate, because if they loved it, they would eat it every day. I think they ate chicken
mm,
quesadillas with siete quesadillas. I think they ate that for like months straight before they got sick of it. Like every day I would make that because it was so easy. Siete
mm.
tortillas, they have them at Costco now, so you can get them at a good deal. They're made with almond flour. They have cassava ones if you're allergic to nuts. They're low carb, chicken, cheese. You could pre-make the chicken. Again, a little bit of planning. You know, if you make some crock pot chicken, some crock pot shredded beef, that can last you for days and it tastes great.
I've been taking notes
So,
here, so I hope everybody's
yes,
taking
I'm telling
notes.
you.
Man,
And that's the type of stuff I try to share, you know. I
yeah,
try to share that kind of stuff on the Instagram too, because I'm like, it's not always fancy, you know.
yeah.
And then people, they it's like the Pinterest, right? Like
Mm.
it makes moms feel like inferior because you're like, well, I didn't cut the sandwich into
Yeah.
a perfect,
I think it's bigger
dinosaur
than
shape or
I
whatever.
think it's bigger than people realize. Like what you guys are doing with your kids, I think it you know, obviously it can come with some criticism
Yeah.
about that. And I think there's a bigger chunk of people that we don't realize that they also want this for their kids. They just don't know what to do. And
100%.
having you guys, you know, on Instagram and having visibility on what your kids eat on a daily basis, and having your story on socials, on your YouTube channel, is such a huge help, especially for me. I'm taking notes right now. I really want to learn this, and I think
Yeah.
what you guys are doing are great. I is there something else that you want to add for our listeners here that that we have left out?
I want to share a story really quick because you just mentioned
Mm-hmm.
something that made me think of that, and it made me sad to hear it
Mm-hmm.
because it makes you wonder, like, wow, more people. Sometimes you have to be the leader, okay? And that's the fact. Just because everybody else is doing something doesn't mean they want to be doing it. So I
Mm-hmm.
have a story where, my boys, we've always homeschooled them, but we were part of this big homeschool group. where they would all have to take their lunches. And I'm that mom. I don't care. I am that. If you, it's also really good for the boys to like for them to experience not always being a part of the crowd. That's not a good thing for them to always follow the crowd. We're seeing that, especially now post 2020. Like you don't want people to always just follow the crowd. So my kids are used to being like kind of the oddballs with their stuff, but first of all, it's worth it because let me tell you, it does matter. My boys are never sick. They don't get sick. They just don't. You know what I mean? So, but anyways, here's the story. I was at a homeschool group, and of course, moms take notice. And one of the moms, we were all sitting around, and she said, "I love how you always pack a healthy lunch for your boys. You know, I want to pack a healthy lunch, but then I feel like nobody else does it." And when she told me that, I was just like, wow, imagine how many other moms feel like you do, and everybody's just going along with the thing. And so sometimes you have to be the leader and people follow. And from that, and then she started sending healthier, you know, a lot of the moms that were sitting around were like, yeah, you're right. You know, like we could send, you know, I'm like, well, you know, you could send, I'm like, you could send your child with a healthy meal. And now Desmond's not the only one,
Yeah.
you know, and they're not
that.
the only one either because they've got Desmond or they've got someone else. The same thing happened in our neighborhood where, you know, a huge problem right now is that also contributes to obesity in children is the fact that they're not outside playing anymore. They're always inside on their video games. And there's a lot of reasons, you know, people, they don't feel like it's safe or whatever. And we're in a gated community here. And we have built such a great culture here where, you know, it's like how we were when we were kids. Like, I don't even see my boys on the weekend. It's like ding dong on my doorbell. It's like 20 kids in the neighborhood and they're always outside. Like, I don't even see them, right? But it started with us because that's not how it was. So sometimes you have to be the leader because you don't know, like other people do feel like you do. They're just scared to be different. And, you know, so we started letting our boys play outside. And then the neighbor was like, oh, okay. So she would like watch her daughter a little bit. And then, so finally, you know, we met her and then now she feels comfortable. So now her daughter's outside and then the other parents follow because they're like, oh, look, all the kids are outside, you know? So sometimes it's okay. It's okay to be different. And sometimes you do have to be a little bit of a leader and you'd be surprised as to how many people, you know, they do feel the same way you do.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I want to share that.
Absolutely. And you know, I am appreciative of what you guys are doing and what you guys are doing for the community. I'd like to, you know when did you guys started sharing your story and what was the motivation on sharing it to other families when you guys started?
Yeah, so I mean, Danny and I started our pages originally, and then we soon, you know, we were so passionate about the kids thing because we saw our friends, children, just by observing children and how they had all these, you know, autoimmune issues and they're getting sick all the time, like how important it really is. But the fact that parents really didn't even know where to start. And so, you know, we just took it upon ourselves, like, let's start their page and at least we can share ideas and information and to help other parents see that it's not that difficult, especially if you're already doing it yourself, right? Because here's the thing, if you're not doing it, you need to look at you first. So that's number one. And, you know, it might, and with older kids, actually, you might need to be quiet for a little bit because you might have to prove yourself and that's okay. Like one of our really good friends, Anna Martin, she didn't come to keto until her boys were teenagers. So she had to just quietly put her head down and get to work before anybody cared about what she had to say, right? Because, and that's a fact. So once she started getting her results and everybody was seeing how she was getting healthier, now they're interested, right? So now maybe her teenager with acne is going to say, Mom, like what you're doing really works. Like, do you think it'll help me with this? And so, because it is a little bit different when you have like older children. So start with you, model, we're huge on modeling the behavior. Our kids are not going to do as we say, they're going to do what we do. That's a fact. So start by modeling the behavior you want to see. Take your own health seriously, without judgment. And, you know, when they ask questions, you know, answer them authentically and that's how you're going to start, you know. But if you're already doing this as a household and you have little children, I mean, that's what our family does, you know. That's just how it is here, you know. And
I love that.
they can have fun at birthday parties and all that stuff, that's fine, but this is what we do here.
I love that. Just setting the example. Be the example that you wanna follow, right? So, um,
That's right.
w- I- can you talk a little bit about your brand and what you're doing right now?
Yeah, with like our
Yep.
coaching. Yes. So Danny and I, we're so excited. So of course we have our Fat Field family branding. And so with our new platform with Fat Field Physique, as Danny has been, he's, spent years coaching people. And we are, again, we are so passionate about really helping people, empowering them. So we don't always want our clients to need us, right? Like, so what we've been working on, and Danny's been working on this whole for the last few months, is building a platform that's more in the form of a course. It's the whole teach a man to fish, right? Like we don't want someone to only have results when they're paying for our coaching, right? We want you to have, this is a lifestyle. So we want you to, like, we want to like let you go, and you can be, you can be successful on your own as well. So we're teaching these principles, right? So instead of just doing people's macros for them all the time, and we do that, like if you need to prep for a show or something like that, obviously that's what you need. But some of these people are, this is a lifestyle. So we have a course where you learn how to calculate macros. So we teach you how to calculate macros for all different scenarios, whether you're, you have hormonal issues, whether you're trying to cut down or put on muscle, with all, whether you want to be like paleo or more keto or carnivore, whatever. And then we also have a fitness course. So of course, you're going to get a ton of workouts with video demos on form and how to properly execute exercises so that you can have good results. And then there's a mindset portion, right? Because we know that this is merely a symptom. A lot of people, if they have food addiction, there's other things going on. So we have a mindset portion course as well that has different principles as well to help you, stay true to yourself and become a stronger person by keeping your word to yourself. And of course, all of it comes with the community aspect, which we love because you need that support. Everybody needs a community that's doing what they're doing to support you. And so, yeah, all of that you're going to get if you, when you join the Fat Field Physique coaching platform.
Where can they go to check that out?
That's okay. So you go to fatfieldphysique.com, and we're actually running a special promo. If you sign up within the first month, you will get a discount that you can lock in. So this will be a locked in rate unless you ever cancel, at $49.99. It will go up to, I believe, $69.99. So if you enter the code Danny, DANNY, all caps, at fatfieldphysique.com, you will be able to lock in that rate.
Awesome. This has been a blast, Maura. Thank you so much once again for coming on and sharing your story and taking some time today to share your story with our listeners here. I'm going to link everything down below so you guys can connect with Maura. Awesome. This has been a blast. Thank you, Maura. Appreciate you.
Thank you so much for having me on. This has been great.
Awesome.